Hey guys, tonight we find ourselves in a hushed, sun-drenched room, the air thick with the scent of cherry blossoms and old paper. You're kneeling on tatami mats, the cool, woven texture a stark contrast to the warmth blooming on your skin. Before you lies a silken rainbow, a cascade of kimonos in every conceivable shade and pattern. You're about to embark on a journey through centuries of Japanese artistry, tradition, and, let's be honest, a whole lot of meticulous folding. This isn't just about clothing, it's about status, ritual, and the very soul of a culture. And who knows, if you get any of the traditions wrong, well, you probably won't survive this dinner party. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And in the comments, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is locally. I love knowing where in the world these stories are finding their way. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Imagine yourself stepping back in time, way back, we're talking the Nara period, around the 8th century. You're not wearing a kimono just yet, instead, you're rocking a simple, two-piece garment inspired by Chinese robes. These early outfits, known as kosode, are pretty basic, functional even, but they mark the very first step towards the elaborate garments you see before you now. Historians still argue whether the direct Chinese influence was due to trade or tributary missions, but either way, it's clear early Japan was taking style notes. You try not to trip over the hem as you navigate the bustling marketplace, everything feels so foreign, so uncomplicated. It's easy to see the appeal of a simplified and more streamlined style of dress. Fast forward a few centuries to the Heian period, and suddenly things get a whole lot more complicated. Court life becomes incredibly refined, obsessed with aesthetics, and suddenly kosodes start getting layered. Think of it as the Renaissance-era equivalent of wearing every piece of clothing you own at once. You're expected to be able to coordinate these layers perfectly, colors, textures, the whole shebang. Get it wrong, and you're social toast. Now, you might be thinking, layers? In this heat? But trust me, it's all about showing off your wealth and good taste. You probably won't survive this era if you offend the Empress with your fashion choices, after all. You're sweating already, and you haven't even left the house. Then the Kamakura period rolls around, bringing with it the rise of the samurai. Suddenly, practicality becomes more important. The layers get shed, and the kosode evolves into a simpler, more comfortable garment, much more practical to wear while you're hacking away at someone with a sword. The under kimono becomes outer kimono. It's all about functionality. Of course, even samurai had their style, and the kimono quickly became a status symbol. You're in the training grounds now, the air is thick with the scent of sweat and steel. You struggle to keep up with the pace, but you're wearing something that resembles, comfortable, at least. As we move into the Edo period, things get really interesting. Peace reigns, and the merchant class rises to prominence. Suddenly, everyone wants a kimono, and they want it to be as elaborate and luxurious as possible. Dyes become more vibrant, patterns become more intricate, and new techniques like yusen dyeing, a detailed resist dyeing process, emerge, allowing for unbelievably complex designs. You see patterns of birds, flowers, landscapes, entire narratives woven into the fabric. There's so much going on, it's like wearing a painting. The Tokugawa shogunate even tried to impose sumptuary laws to restrict the extravagance of the kimono, but let's be honest, nobody really listened. It's the ultimate form of self-expression. Now, take a moment to consider the obi, that wide sash that cinches the kimono at the waist. It's not just there to hold everything in place. It's a statement in itself, with different knots and styles signifying different occasions and social statuses. A particularly elaborate obi could be more expensive than the kimono itself. Historians still argue whether some of the more intricate knots were a secret language used by women to communicate messages to each other. Imagine the possibilities. You're at a lavish party, silk and conversation flow around you. The obi is doing much more than it seems. Then there's the fabric itself. Silk, of course, is the king of kimono fabrics, but cotton and linen also make appearances, especially in everyday wear. The weight, texture, and drape of the fabric all contribute to the overall look and feel. A heavy silk kimono feels regal and luxurious, while a light cotton kimono feels comfortable and casual. You run your fingers over the smooth surface of a bolt of silk, you can see why it was so coveted. And what about the patterns? Each one has its own meaning and significance. Cherry blossoms represent the fleeting nature of life, cranes symbolize longevity and good fortune, and pine trees embody resilience and strength. Wearing a kimono isn't just about looking good, it's about communicating a message, telling a story. You might not know what all the patterns mean, but you can guess. As you look closer, you see the painstaking work that goes into creating a kimono. Each one is hand-stitched, hand-dyed, and hand-painted. It's a labor of love that can take months, even years, to complete. These aren't disposable garments. They're heirlooms, passed down from generation to generation. You can't help but admire the skill and dedication of the artisans who create these works of art. Now, let's talk about the sleeves. The length and style of the sleeves can indicate a woman's marital status. Long, flowing sleeves are typically worn by unmarried women, while shorter sleeves are worn by married women. Kimono sleeves were famously used as pockets as well. They're essentially wearable purses. Imagine reaching into your sleeve for your phone, okay, maybe not in the Edo period, but you get the idea. But kimonos aren't just for women. Men wear them too, though often in simpler styles and darker colors. A man's kimono might be adorned with subtle crests or symbols, representing his family or clan. There is often a degree of androgyny to the earlier styles of kimono, and some historians think that this reflects the social fluidity of Japan's imperial court. You spot a man in a dark kimono, his face etched with determination. He looks powerful, confident. Speaking of crests, those family emblems, known as kamen, are like personal signatures, displayed prominently on formal kimonos. They serve as a visual representation of a family's history and status. It's like wearing your family tree on your sleeve. You are offered a kimono with a crest on it. The family must be very important. You probably won't survive this if you don't wear it with respect. As the Meiji Restoration swept through Japan in the late 19th century, ushering in a wave of Western influence, the kimono faced a challenge. Suddenly, Western-style clothing became fashionable, especially among the elite. But the kimono didn't disappear. It remained a symbol of Japanese identity and tradition, worn for special occasions and ceremonies. You notice the changing styles around you, it is clear which is more practical, but the kimono still has charm. Even today, the kimono holds a special place in Japanese culture. You'll see them worn at weddings, tea ceremonies, and festivals. And while everyday wear might be dominated by Western clothing, the kimono continues to inspire designers and artists around the world. You watch a bride glide down the aisle in a white kimono, a vision of elegance and grace. It's a reminder that some traditions are timeless. Now you're trying one on yourself. The weight of the silk feels luxurious against your skin. You adjust the collar, tighten the obi, and smooth out any wrinkles. As you look in the mirror, you see more than just a reflection. You see centuries of history, tradition, and artistry. You are, for a moment, a part of something much bigger than yourself. And let's not forget the accessories, the kanzashi hair ornaments, the geta wooden sandals, the tabi socks that separate the big toe from the others. Each element plays a role in completing the ensemble. You try on a pair of geta, they feel a little awkward at first, but you soon get the hang of it. The allure of the kimono isn't just about its beauty or its history. It's about the ritual, the care, and the attention to detail that goes into wearing it. It's about slowing down, being present, and connecting with a tradition that spans centuries. It's a reminder that clothing can be more than just something you wear. It can be a work of art, a symbol of identity, and a connection to the past. So, next time you see a kimono, take a moment to appreciate the artistry and the history behind it. Think about the generations of artisans who poured their hearts and souls into creating these beautiful garments. Think about the women and men who wore them with pride and grace. And remember that even in our fast-paced, modern world, there's still room for beauty, tradition, and a little bit of quiet contemplation. Alright, settle in, settle in. Dim the lights, maybe light a candle that smells vaguely of sandalwood and old paper, you know, the kind that screams, pretentious historian. We're diving deep tonight, folks, into a world of silk and social strata, of hidden meanings woven into every thread. We're talking kimonos, Edo period style. And trust me, it's way more fascinating than that documentary about competitive cheese sculpting you almost watched. You trudge, or perhaps glide, depending on your current mood and the slipperiness of your socks, into the bustling streets of Edo. Imagine the sounds, the clatter of wooden geta sandals on stone, the hawkers' cries vying for your attention, the distant strumming of a shamisen. The air, thick with the scent of soy sauce, charcoal grilling, and the faintly acrid aroma of, well, let's just say Edo wasn't exactly known for its advanced sewage system. Hold that thought, it'll be relevant later. Your eyes are immediately drawn to the kimonos. A kaleidoscope of colors and patterns swirling around you. But don't be fooled, darling. This isn't just fabric, it's a walking, talking social resume. Every detail, from the fabric's weave to the placement of the crest, screams status. You see that woman in the distance, gliding by in a deep indigo kimono adorned with subtle, repeating patterns. She's probably a merchant's wife, solid, respectable, and definitely not about to spill the tea, even if it were served in the finest Imari porcelain. But look closer. The obi, that wide sash cinching her waist, is tied in a rather elaborate knot. Maybe a bit too elaborate. Now, you might think I'm being judgmental, but in Edo society, even the way you tied your obi could send a message. A flamboyant knot could hint at a less than virtuous reputation, or maybe she just had a particularly rebellious streak. Historians still argue whether the elaborate obi styles were truly a sign of social deviation or simply a matter of personal preference, but personally, I suspect it was a bit of both. You know, like wearing mismatched socks to your graduation ceremony, a tiny act of rebellion against the system. Speaking of the system, the Edo period, spanning from 1603 to 1868, was a time of relative peace and prosperity under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate. It was also a period of incredibly strict social hierarchy. You had the samurai at the top, then the farmers, artisans, and merchants. Everyone had their place, and the kimono was a handy way to keep tabs on everyone else. You could pretty much tell someone's social standing just by looking at their clothes. Think of it as the Edo-Era equivalent of judging people by their shoes. Except, you know, with way more silk. Now, you might be thinking, okay, boring. Rules are boring. Tell me something juicy. Alright. How about this? Did you know that commoners were often forbidden from wearing certain colors and fabrics? Gold, purple, and elaborate brocades were strictly reserved for the samurai class and the wealthy elite. Imagine the frustration. You're a successful rice merchant, swimming in cash, but you're stuck wearing drab cotton while your samurai neighbor struts around in shimmering silk. Talk about a fashion faux pas with real consequences. And it gets better. There were even sumptuary laws, basically, clothing restrictions, dictating the length of sleeves, the width of obi, and the number of layers one could wear. It was fashion fascism. Though I suppose if you're going to have fashion fascism, at least it's aesthetically pleasing. But of course, people being people, they found ways to circumvent the rules. It was the Edo-Era equivalent of wearing ripped jeans to your corporate job. Commoners might adopt subtle patterns and colors that subtly alluded to forbidden styles. They might wear luxurious linings that were hidden from view, a secret indulgence only they knew about. It was all about that subtle act of rebellion, that wink and a nudge to the fashion police. They were so punk rock. Let's move on to the samurai, shall we? Picture a stoic warrior, clad in a magnificent kimono adorned with his family crest. The crest, or kamen, was a symbol of lineage and status, a visual shorthand for the samurai's entire history. It was like wearing your family's entire Wikipedia entry on your sleeve, literally. The samurai's kimono wasn't just about looking good, though they did look damn good. It was also about functionality. Underneath that elaborate outer robe, they wore layers of undergarments, including padded garments that could act as a makeshift armor. I'm imagining them awkwardly trying to do jumping jacks. Protection and style. That's what I call a win-win. Fun fact, samurai were expected to maintain their kimonos impeccably. A wrinkled or stained garment was seen as a sign of disrespect, a reflection of the samurai's lack of discipline. Can you imagine the pressure? You're constantly dodging sword fights and trying to look pristine at the same time. It sounds exhausting. Now, let's talk about the geisha. Ah, the geisha. These women were masters of art, music, and conversation, highly respected entertainers who graced the tea houses and pleasure districts of Edo. Their kimonos were a spectacle of color and artistry, each one a unique work of art. But their kimonos also played a crucial role in defining their status and signaling their availability. The color of the kimono, the pattern, the style of the obi, all of these details conveyed specific meanings. A young, apprentice geisha, known as a maiko, would wear brightly colored kimonos with long, flowing sleeves, signaling her youth and inexperience. As she matured and gained experience, her kimonos would become more subdued, reflecting her growing sophistication and status. And then there's the whole business of the elaborate hairstyles and makeup. The iconic white face, the meticulously painted lips, the towering Shimada hairstyle, it was all part of the geisha's carefully constructed persona. It was a look so striking that it could launch 1,000 ships or, at the very least, inspire a really good kabuki play. You might be surprised to learn that geishas often slept with a small wooden block under their necks to prevent their elaborate hairstyles from being ruined. Talk about commitment to beauty. I can barely commit to flossing, let alone sleeping on a block of wood. One slightly fringe theory suggests that the particular shade of white makeup used by geishas was chosen because it showed up well under candlelight. Historians still argue whether this was the primary reason or simply a happy coincidence, but it makes sense, doesn't it? You want to look your best when you're entertaining wealthy patrons in dimly lit rooms. Back to those lovely Edo streets. Imagine you're strolling past a public bathhouse. What do you see? Well, hopefully, you see people modestly covered in their yukata, simple cotton robes worn after bathing. But you might also see some incredibly revealing tattoos. Tattoos, or irizumi, were surprisingly common during the Edo period, despite being officially frowned upon by the authorities. They were often used by laborers, gamblers, and even members of the yakuza, the Japanese mafia, to display their allegiance and status. The designs were elaborate and often symbolic, depicting dragons, tigers, and other mythical creatures. These tattoos were applied using traditional methods involving bamboo needles and hand-poked ink. It was a long, painful process, but the results were considered a badge of honor, a symbol of strength and resilience. It was like getting your LinkedIn profile permanently etched onto your skin. Experienced sumo wrestler, proficient in sake consumption. And that sewer situation. Tattoos were also a way to cover up branding punishments. Branding criminals was not uncommon, so people would tattoo over them to return their social image. Now, as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the Edo landscape, you notice a group of children playing in the street. Their kimonos are simple and practical, designed for comfort and durability. But even in their everyday attire, you can still see echoes of the social hierarchy. The children from wealthier families might wear kimonos made from finer fabrics, while the children from poorer families might wear patched and mended garments. It's a subtle reminder that even in childhood, social distinctions were ever present. Let's not forget about the accessories, those little details that added a touch of personality and individuality to the kimono ensemble. The kanzashi, those ornate hair ornaments worn by women, were particularly popular. They came in a wide variety of styles, from delicate floral designs to elaborate jeweled creations. And then there were the netsuke, small, intricately carved toggles used to secure pouches and other items to the obi. These tiny works of art were often whimsical and humorous, depicting animals, mythical creatures, and even scenes from everyday life. It was the Edo-era equivalent of attaching a funny keychain to your backpack. A tiny, carved badger holding a sake bottle. Yes, please. But what was really trending in the Edo fashion scene? Well, what was cool was *iki*, which translates roughly to chic, stylish, and sophisticated. However, it also meant natural. It's a very particular look to pull off. As our virtual tour of Edo draws to a close, take a moment to appreciate the artistry, the symbolism, and the sheer complexity of the kimono. It was more than just clothing, it was a reflection of Edo society, a visual representation of its values, its beliefs, and its social hierarchy. And now, as you drift off to sleep, dreaming of silk and samurai, remember, fashion is power. Use it wisely. Oh, and maybe invest in a good sandalwood candle. It really sets the mood. Alright, settle in, settle in. Let's get cozy and talk kimono. Forget the day, let your shoulders drop, and imagine you're running your fingers over the smooth silk of a vintage kimono. Feels nice, doesn't it? Good. We're going to dive deep into the fascinating world of kimono fabrics and construction, and trust me, there's a lot more to it than just a pretty robe. First off, let's talk materials. When you think kimono, you probably think silk. And you'd be right, mostly. Silk, kinu in Japanese, is the king, or queen, of kimono fabrics. It's luxurious, it drapes beautifully, and it takes dye like a dream. Imagine the vibrant hues, the intricate patterns, all brought to life on that shimmering surface. Silk kimonos were traditionally reserved for the upper classes, though. Think samurai, court nobles, and wealthy merchants. Why? Because silk production was, and still can be, expensive. And back in the Edo period, owning a silk kimono was a serious flex. It was like owning a Lamborghini, if Lamborghinis were also incredibly comfortable and could keep you warm. Now, you might be thinking, okay, silk is fancy. What did the common folk wear? Well, my friend, let me introduce you to cotton, or momin. Cotton kimonos were the workhorses of everyday life. Durable, washable, and relatively affordable, they were perfect for farmers, artisans, and pretty much anyone who didn't have a mountain of gold stashed under their tatami mats. Think of them as the genes of the kimono world. Functional, reliable, and capable of hiding a multitude of sins, like that time you spilled soy sauce all down the front of your shirt. And speaking of hiding things, get this, during the Edo period, the shogunate issued sumptuary laws dictating what people of different social classes could wear. Commoners were often restricted to wearing plain, simple cotton kimonos in muted colors. But, being the rebellious souls that they were, they found a loophole, yuragi, or lining. On the outside, their kimono might have looked drab and boring. But on the inside? A riot of color, bold patterns, and secret symbols. It was like wearing a party on the inside, a secret rebellion against the stuffy rules. Historians still argue whether this was a deliberate act of defiance or simply a way to add a little personal flair, but either way, it's a pretty cool story. It just goes to show you, even in a highly regulated society, people will always find ways to express themselves. Maybe we should all start wearing outrageously patterned linings in our jackets. Just a thought. But cotton and silk aren't the only players in the kimono game. There's also wool, or yomo, which became popular during the Meiji era, late 19th century, as Japan opened up to Western trade. Wool kimonos were warmer than cotton and less expensive than silk, making them a practical choice for colder climates and those on a budget. Think of them as the sensible shoes of the kimono world. Not exactly glamorous, but definitely reliable and warm. Then there's linen, or asa, a lightweight and breathable fabric perfect for hot summer days. Linen kimonos are often simple and unlined, ideal for festivals or casual wear. Imagine yourself strolling through a bustling marketplace in a cool linen kimono, sipping iced tea and enjoying the vibrant atmosphere. Sounds pretty idyllic, right? Just watch out for the inevitable wrinkles. Linen is beautiful, but it's also a magnet for creases. And let's not forget hemp, or tama. Hemp was one of the oldest fabrics used in Japan, often woven into durable and practical garments. It's also incredibly sustainable, which is a big plus in today's world. Hemp kimonos are less common these days, but they're making a comeback as people look for more eco-friendly options. Plus, you can tell people your robe is practically medicinal. Okay, so we've covered the main fabrics. But what about the actual construction of a kimono? Well, that's where things get really interesting. The traditional method of making a kimono is a meticulous and time-consuming process. Each kimono is typically made from a single bolt of cloth, called a tanmono. The tanmono is carefully cut into specific pieces: 2 body panels, 2 sleeves, 2 front panels, a collar, and a lining. These pieces are then hand-sewn together with incredible precision. One of the key features of kimono construction is the straight-line cutting. Unlike Western clothing, which often uses curved seams to create a fitted shape, kimonos are constructed entirely from straight lines. This allows for greater flexibility in sizing and makes it easier to alter the kimono if needed. Imagine the ingenuity. Instead of complicated darts and seams, just straight lines and clever folding. It's like origami, but with fabric. Speaking of origami, did you know that traditional kimono sewing doesn't use knots? Instead, the thread is carefully secured with overlapping stitches. This prevents the fabric from being damaged and allows the kimono to be easily taken apart and re-sewn, which is useful for cleaning and repairs. It's like the ultimate upcycling project. A family heirloom that can be passed down through generations, altered to fit each new owner. Another important element of kimono construction is the collar, or eri. The eri is usually made from a separate piece of fabric and is carefully attached to the neckline. The shape and style of the eri can vary depending on the type of kimono and the occasion. A crisp, perfectly aligned eri is a sign of elegance and attention to detail. It's like the perfect tie knot, but for your robe. Now, here's a quirky little fact for you: the length of the sleeves on a woman's kimono can indicate her marital status. Longer sleeves are typically worn by unmarried women, while shorter sleeves are worn by married women. It's like a wearable dating app. No swiping required, just check the sleeves. The sleeves themselves are these big, billowing things, right? Ever wonder why they're so huge? Well, besides looking fabulous, they also serve a practical purpose. They can be used to carry small items, like a fan, a handkerchief, or even a secret love letter. It's like having built-in pockets, but way more stylish. And, on a hot day, you can use them as a personal cooling system, wafting air to keep you comfortable. Ingenious. Historians still argue whether the practical function of the sleeves or the aesthetic value came first. It's one of those chicken or the egg situations that probably doesn't have a definitive answer. But either way, those sleeves are pretty darn useful. Once the kimono is sewn, it's time for the finishing touches. This might involve adding embellishments like embroidery, painting, or dyeing. The designs on a kimono can range from simple geometric patterns to elaborate landscapes and mythological creatures. Each design has its own meaning and symbolism, adding another layer of complexity to this already intricate garment. You could spend hours just deciphering the hidden messages woven into the fabric. Dyeing techniques, like yuzen and shibori, are particularly important in creating the beautiful patterns on kimonos. Yuzen involves applying dyes directly to the fabric using rice paste resist, while shibori is a type of tie-dye that creates intricate patterns through pleating, binding, and stitching. These techniques require years of training to master, and the results are often breathtaking. The kimono itself is a canvas, and the artisans who create them are true masters of their craft. It's a reminder that clothing can be so much more than just something to wear. It can be a work of art, a cultural artifact, and a symbol of personal identity. So next time you see a kimono, take a moment to appreciate the incredible amount of skill and effort that goes into making it. From the choice of fabric to the intricate stitching and dyeing techniques, every detail is carefully considered. It's a testament to the beauty and ingenuity of Japanese craftsmanship. And remember, whether you're rocking a luxurious silk kimono or a simple cotton one, it's all about the attitude. Wear it with confidence, wear it with grace, and wear it with a little bit of that secret rebellion in your heart. And maybe consider adding an outrageously patterned lining. Just saying. Alright, come a little closer, settle in. Are you comfortable? Good. Because we're about to embark on a journey, a tactile, almost spiritual journey, into folding. Yes, folding. But not just any folding. We're talking kimono folding. Deep breaths. Don't hyperventilate. I know, it sounds intense. But trust me, there's a certain zen to be found in crisp creases and perfectly aligned seams. Think of it like this, you're not just folding fabric. You're preserving history, respecting tradition, and, let's be honest, probably saving yourself a whole lot of closet space. Now, before you start picturing yourself drowning in a sea of silk, let's just acknowledge the elephant in the room. Folding a kimono is not like folding a t-shirt. We're not just going to haphazardly wad it up and shove it in a drawer. Oh no. This is an art form. A delicate art form, as the title suggests. You stand before a garment that has absorbed centuries of culture. Now, the kimono's lineage is said to originate from the Chinese Hanfu, around the 8th century. Imagine, it was back then, when envoys traveled back and forth between the two empires, that the Japanese nobility, always keen to adopt a touch of foreign flair, began incorporating aspects of the Hanfu into their own court attire. That early kimono, mind you, was less a distinct garment and more a variation on Chinese styles. Now, there's something almost meditative about the process. The slow, deliberate movements, the focus on precision, it's practically a form of moving meditation. You may even discover a hidden talent. You might even, dare I say, enjoy it. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone if you start preferring folding kimonos to, say, watching cat videos on the internet. Although, speaking of cats, did you know that in some traditional Japanese art, cats are depicted wearing kimonos? It's true. Usually, they're portrayed as mischievous spirits causing all sorts of delightful chaos. You know, like your own feline friend when it's 3 a.m. and he's decided your face is the perfect jungle gym. Okay, so you've got your kimono laid out flat, preferably on a clean surface. A tatami mat is ideal, but honestly, your dining table will work just fine. Just make sure it's clear of any stray crumbs or, God forbid, that half-eaten bowl of cereal you forgot about this morning. First things first, you need to smooth out any wrinkles. Now, you could use an iron, but be careful. Silk can be a tricky beast. Too much heat, and you'll end up with a shiny, melted mess that no amount of folding can fix. Trust me, I've been there. Instead, consider using a steamer or simply hanging the kimono in a humid room. The steam will naturally relax the fibers and release any stubborn creases. Historians still argue whether the emphasis on precise folding originated purely from practical considerations, minimizing storage space, preventing wrinkles, or whether it also held a deeper, symbolic significance. It's like the debate over the Mona Lisa's smile: is it joy? Is it sadness? Or is it just gas? In this case, is it just a way to keep your kimono from looking like it's been attacked by a badger, or is there something more profound at play? Some scholars argue that the act of folding a kimono is a way of preserving its energy, its history, and its connection to the wearer. The folds are like memories, carefully layered and preserved for future generations. Pretty deep, right? Now, let's get practical. You'll start by bringing the left side of the kimono towards the center, aligning the edge with the center back seam. Smooth it out, making sure there are no wrinkles. Then, repeat on the right side, overlapping it slightly over the left. You should now have a long, rectangular shape. Pay attention to the sleeves. You want to fold them neatly over the body of the kimono, ensuring they're symmetrical. This is where your inner perfectionist can really shine. Embrace the symmetry. Revel in the alignment. Become one with the fold. But here's the slightly quirky bit: some traditional kimono folding methods involve placing a special type of paper, called tatsushi, inside the folds. This paper acts as a sort of moisture barrier, protecting the fabric from humidity and preventing discoloration. Now, tatsushi isn't exactly something you can pick up at your local supermarket. You'll probably have to order it online or find a specialty Japanese store. But hey, think of it as an investment in your kimono's long-term well-being. Like buying a really good face cream for your favorite silk garment. Next, you'll take the bottom of the kimono and fold it upwards, towards the collar. The goal is to create a neat, compact package. But don't just fold it willy-nilly. Take your time, smooth out any wrinkles, and make sure the edges are aligned. Remember, we're not just folding, we're creating a work of art. Or, at the very least, preventing our kimono from becoming a wrinkled mess in the back of our closet. You might be thinking, is all this really necessary? Can't I just hang my kimono up like a normal person? And the answer is, well, you could. But hanging a kimono can actually stretch the fabric and distort its shape over time. Especially if it's a heavier, more ornate kimono. Folding, on the other hand, distributes the weight evenly and helps the kimono retain its original form. Plus, it's just so darn satisfying. The Meiji Restoration in the late 19th century brought about a seismic shift in Japanese society. Suddenly, Western clothing was all the rage, and the kimono started to lose its position as the everyday garment. But, did you know there was a brief period when people were wearing kimonos with bowler hats? It was a truly bizarre fusion of East and West, a visual representation of a nation grappling with modernization. Now, you've probably noticed that I've been using the term kimono rather loosely. The truth is, there are many different types of kimonos, each with its own specific folding method. A furisode, for example, which is a long-sleeved kimono worn by unmarried women, requires a slightly different technique to accommodate the extra long sleeves. And the yukata, which is a lightweight cotton kimono worn in summer, can be folded a bit more casually. But the basic principles remain the same: precision, symmetry, and a healthy dose of respect. Some believe that specific folding techniques were once closely guarded secrets, passed down through generations within families or artisan workshops. The idea being that the way you folded a kimono could reveal something about your status, your skill, or even your intentions. It's the kind of fringe theory that adds a bit of intrigue to an otherwise straightforward process. Although, let's be honest, it's also the kind of theory that's difficult to prove. Like trying to figure out if Bigfoot really exists. So there you have it. The delicate art of folding. It's a skill, a tradition, and a surprisingly therapeutic activity. And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a hidden talent for origami along the way. Just be careful not to accidentally fold your cat into a swan. They tend not to appreciate that. And as you lay your perfectly folded kimono away, take a moment to appreciate the journey it has taken. From the silkworms that spun the threads, to the artisans who dyed and wove the fabric, to the generations of wearers who have imbued it with their own stories. You are now part of that story. You are a keeper of tradition. You are a master folder. Okay, maybe not a master, but you're definitely on your way. Alright, settle in, friend. Let's get comfy. Imagine you're draped in your favorite blanket, maybe sipping something warm, because, hey, we're about to embark on the exciting journey of tool acquisition. Yeah, I know, sounds thrilling, right? But trust me, having the right stuff makes all the difference. It's like trying to eat soup with a fork, technically possible, but ultimately, unsatisfying. So, first things first, think about space. Where are you going to do this thing? Are we talking a full-blown workshop situation, a corner of the garage, or maybe just a dedicated section of the kitchen table? Because honestly, if you're working on the kitchen table, I salute you. That's dedication. But also, maybe invest in a good drop cloth. Just saying. Your future self, and your counters, will thank you. Now, let's talk tools. Before you even think about wielding a hammer, you need to understand your canvas. In the art world, they are always so careful, and it shows. What are you going to be working on? Wood? Metal? Maybe something weird and experimental involving dryer lint and glitter glue. No judgment here, but your tool selection will drastically change depending on your medium. Think of it like a surgeon. They wouldn't use a bone saw to suture a paper cut, would they? Okay, maybe Dr. Nick Riviera would, but you get my point. The right tool for the right job. Historically speaking, the concept of specialized tools isn't exactly new. Humans have been crafting tools for, like, ever. We're talking way back to the Oldowan tool industry era, crude stone choppers dating back over 2 million years. Imagine trying to build an IKEA bookshelf with one of those bad boys. You'd be better off using your teeth. And speaking of ancient tools, here's a quirky little fact for you. Did you know that some archaeologists believe Neanderthals were using birch bark pitch as a glue, as early as 200,000 years ago? Birch bark pitch. That's some serious prehistoric DIY. It makes that bottle of Elmer's look kinda pathetic, doesn't it? Historians still argue whether Neanderthals invented this glue independently or learned it from another hominid group. It's always something, right? Nobody wants to give Neanderthals any credit. They probably had a whole Pinterest board of crafting ideas we don't know about. Alright, let's get back to your workspace. Lighting. It's crucial. Are you working in a dimly lit dungeon? Because if so, maybe consider a good lamp. You need to see what you're doing. Trust me, accidentally hammering your thumb is way less fun when you can't even see it coming. And speaking of safety, eye protection. Seriously. Safety glasses are not a fashion statement, unless you're going for that mad scientist chic look, which, you know, no judgment. Little bits of stuff tend to fly around when you're working, and your eyeballs are kind of important. I mean, how else are you going to binge-watch cat videos? Gloves are another good idea. Protect those precious hands. Unless you're going for that rugged, calloused look. In which case, go wild. Just don't come crying to me when you get a splinter the size of a small redwood tree. Now, let's delve into the nitty-gritty. What are the foundational tools? A hammer, obviously. But not just any hammer. There are claw hammers, ball-peen hammers, rubber mallets. It's a whole hammer universe out there. Choose wisely, young Padawan. Screwdrivers. Another essential. And please, for the love of all that is holy, don't try to use a flathead screwdriver on a Phillips head screw. It never works. It just mangles the screw and makes you feel vaguely inadequate. A measuring tape. Because eyeballing it is rarely accurate. Unless you're some kind of savant, in which case, congratulations on your inherent mathematical prowess. The rest of us mere mortals need a little help. A level. Nobody wants a crooked shelf. Unless you're deliberately going for that avant-garde, intentionally off-kilter aesthetic. In which case, knock yourself out. But be prepared for people to subtly rearrange things when you're not looking. And now, a brief detour into the realm of power tools. Drills, saws, sanders, oh my. Power tools are like the sports cars of the tool world. They're powerful, exciting, and potentially dangerous in the wrong hands. So, please, read the manual. Watch some YouTube tutorials. Don't just jump in and start wielding a circular saw like a medieval broadsword. You will regret it. Fun historical fact, the first electric drill was patented in 1889. Imagine trying to explain that to someone living in ancient Egypt. Yes, it's a spinning thing that makes holes, but it's powered by electricity. Their heads would probably explode. Speaking of exploding heads, here's a quirky tidbit, the ancient Romans used lead pipes for their plumbing. Which, probably wasn't the best idea. Lead poisoning isn't exactly a health spa experience. Historians still argue whether the Romans fully understood the dangers of lead, or if they were just stubbornly insistent on using it because it was readily available. Either way, it's a cautionary tale about the importance of doing your research before you start building things. Now, back to our tool collection. Clamps. You'll need clamps. So many clamps. You can never have too many clamps. Clamps are like the duct tape of the woodworking world. They hold things together when everything else fails. And speaking of duct tape, yes, you should have some. It fixes everything. Except maybe broken hearts. But it's worth a shot. Sandpaper. In various grits. Because smoothness is key. Unless you're deliberately going for that rustic, rough-hewn look. Which, again, no judgment. But be prepared for splinters. A good work surface. This could be a workbench, a sturdy table, or even just a piece of plywood laid across some sawhorses. Just make sure it's stable. You don't want your project collapsing mid-construction. And finally, organization. This is crucial. A messy workspace is a recipe for disaster. You'll spend more time searching for your tools than actually using them. Invest in some toolboxes, drawers, or even just a good old-fashioned pegboard. Label everything. And for the love of Pete, put your tools back where they belong after you're done using them. Trust me, future you will be eternally grateful. So, there you have it. A whirlwind tour of the tools and preparation you'll need for your next project. Remember, it's not just about having the right tools, it's about knowing how to use them safely and effectively. And maybe a little bit about having a good sense of humor. Because things will go wrong. They always do. But that's part of the fun. Right? Right? Okay, I see you nodding. Good. Now go forth and create. And try not to lose any fingers. I'd hate to have to explain that to your mother. You are now ready to proceed to the next step. So, good luck, have fun, and don't forget to wear your safety glasses. Alright, settle in, settle in. You're here, you're ready. Good. We're finally getting our hands dirty. You eye that magnificent, albeit slightly crumpled, kimono. It's got stories to tell, this one. You can almost feel the weight of history, or maybe that's just the weight of the silk, which, by the way, is surprisingly hefty. Don't go thinking all silk is created equal, right? This isn't your flimsy department store scarf. You run a hand across the fabric, feeling for any snags, any loose threads that are just begging to unravel. You notice a faint scent of mothballs, a testament to its age and the care, or perhaps lack thereof, it's received over the years. It's like a time capsule in fabric form. You imagine geishas wafting through gardens or samurai drinking warm sake with it, but then think about how it might have been stored in a cupboard for decades. It's kind of sad. First things first, you're going to give this beauty a little spa treatment. Now, I know what you're thinking, spa. For a kimono? Really? Yes, really. Think of it as preventive archaeology. We want to preserve, not destroy, and believe me, aggressive cleaning is destruction in disguise. So, you gently lay the kimono out on a large, clean, flat surface. A padded table or a thick blanket on the floor works wonders. You make sure your workspace is clean. Dust is our enemy here, as it can get embedded in the fibers. You would then take a soft brush, think something like a goat hair brush, the kind you might use for applying makeup, and very gently brush the entire surface. You're not trying to scrub away grime, you're just coaxing away loose dust and debris. You're essentially performing a delicate surface clean. You know, like when you carefully dust your grandma's antique porcelain dolls. Remember those? Always slightly creepy, right? Anyway, you're using the same principle here. Light, gentle strokes, working with the grain of the fabric. It's a slow, meditative process, honestly. You might even find it, dare I say, relaxing. No. Okay, fine, but don't knock it till you try it. Historians still argue whether certain cleaning methods used on historical textiles actually do more harm than good. Some purists advocate for doing absolutely nothing, letting the garment exist in its current state as a testament to its age. Others believe that gentle cleaning is essential to prevent further deterioration. You, my friend, are walking a very fine line, a tightrope between preservation and potential damage. This could be on your tombstone. Here lies your name. They did their best and messed up the best kimono. And now, for the alignment. You carefully adjust the sleeves, the collar, the hem, ensuring that everything is laying flat and symmetrical. You want the kimono to be in its natural shape, the way it was intended to be worn. This is crucial for the next step. Imagine trying to build a house on an uneven foundation. You're essentially creating the foundation for whatever magic you are about to perform on this garment. I hope that magic is more than you spilling tea over it. Speaking of the way it was intended to be worn. Did you know that kimonos were traditionally custom-made to fit the individual wearer? They weren't mass-produced like clothes are today. Each kimono was a unique work of art, tailored to the specific body shape and dimensions of its owner. It's kind of like bespoke tailoring, but on a whole other level. You look back at yours now and wonder if it had been a geisha or perhaps someone else. Now, you pause. The kimono is laid out before you, smooth and aligned. It's ready. You close your eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply. Just kidding. I'm not sure why I wanted you to inhale, I'm just trying to add some drama. Remember that while kimonos often signify beauty and grace, they were also used in more practical ways. In feudal Japan, for example, they were sometimes used as fire-resistant clothing by samurai. The layers of silk offered some protection against flames. I guess even warriors want to look fabulous while fighting fires. Next, you start to consider how you might begin stitching it, and you realize you need to stretch it, but you don't have a stretching machine. You suddenly realize you've gone in over your head and you ask why you thought this was a good idea. You then sigh and continue, knowing this needs to be done and will be done. But before the stitching, you notice a faint stain near the collar. Ugh. This is where things get interesting. You can't just grab any old stain remover and go to town. Nope. That's a recipe for disaster. This is a delicate operation, requiring a gentle touch and a bit of detective work. First, you need to identify the type of stain. Is it oil-based? Water-based? Is it tea? Sake? Blood from a samurai duel? Okay, probably not that last one, but you never know. It would make for a great story, though. You can look at the stains with a light and see if you can see any residue left behind. Once you've identified the stain, you can choose the appropriate cleaning method. For a water-based stain, you might try gently blotting it with a damp cloth. For an oil-based stain, you might use a solvent. You use a solvent on the garment but now it smells and you need to use another solvent to get rid of the original solvent. This part is always so stressful. No matter how many times you watch videos, there's always the underlying fear that it will be worse than it was. I mean, if you don't do anything, then it's just a stain. But if you do something, it could be an even bigger stain. Historians still argue whether the traditional methods of stain removal are more effective than modern techniques. Some swear by the old ways, using natural ingredients and time-tested techniques. Others prefer the convenience and effectiveness of modern stain removers. The key, as always, is to proceed with caution and test any cleaning method on a small, inconspicuous area first. Alright, stain removal is done. Hopefully. Now, you can finally get to the actual stitching. Grab your needle and thread. Make sure you're using a fine, high-quality thread that matches the color of the kimono. You don't want your stitches to be visible, or to use a thread that could potentially damage the fabric. So, you're starting with a simple running stitch, reinforcing any weakened seams. It's like giving the kimono a little hug, a little extra support. You know, like when you see someone struggling with a heavy load, and you just offer a helping hand. But instead of a helping hand, you're offering a needle and thread. It's the same principle, really. Did you know that the stitches used in kimono construction often had symbolic meanings? Certain stitches were believed to bring good luck, while others were used to ward off evil spirits. It's like sewing little blessings into the fabric. And you thought it was just about holding the kimono together. You're stitching away, feeling the rhythm of the needle and thread. It's a slow, deliberate process, requiring patience and focus. You start to wonder what the original owner was like. Maybe a noble woman, perhaps a courtesan, you'll never know. Did she ever think this garment would be in your hands today? Probably not. But here it is, a connection across time and space. And you laugh to yourself. This is taking a lot longer than you expected. You thought this would take an hour and you're 3 hours in. You begin to wonder when you are going to sleep. Alright, settle in, you cozy little origami enthusiast. Let's get this left panel folded. Feel that paper between your fingers? Smooth, right? Or maybe a little rough, depending on what you chose. Either way, it's all good. We're not judging your paper choices here. We're just here to fold. And maybe learn a little something along the way. But mostly fold. Okay, so remember that center line we so meticulously, or, let's be honest, semi-meticulously, creased in the last step. That's our guide. That's our North Star in this paper folding galaxy. You're going to take the left edge of the paper, the one furthest away from you right now, and bring it over to meet that center crease. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? As you're doing that, feel the paper shifting, feel the tension. Notice how that fold wants to naturally occur. Paper, like people, often resists being forced into unnatural positions. Unless you're, like, aggressively ironing it. Then it's all, yes, master, I am perfectly flat and obedient. Make sure that edge lines up perfectly with that center crease. I'm talking laser precision accuracy here. Okay, I'm kidding. It doesn't have to be perfect. But, you know, reasonably close. Eyeball it. We're artists, not robots. Although, some robots do make origami now. Scary, right? Makes you wonder if they'll eventually take over the entire paper folding industry. I, for one, welcome our new origami bot overlords. As long as they can make a decent crane. Once you're satisfied, or at least resigned to the fact that it's as good as it's going to get, go ahead and crease that fold. Use your fingernail, or the edge of a bone folder if you're feeling fancy. Press down firmly, but not too firmly. You don't want to tear the paper. Unless you're going for that distressed, I spent all night wrestling with this origami look. Which, hey, is a look. I'm not gonna lie, I've rocked it a few times. There you go. First fold done. Feels good, doesn't it? You've accomplished something. You've taken a flat piece of paper and bent it to your will. You are powerful. You are a folder of paper. Okay, maybe not that powerful. But still. While you're basking in your folding glory, let's take a little detour into the fascinating world of paper history. Did you know that paper was actually invented in China? Specifically, around the 2nd century AD, during the Han Dynasty? It's true. This Kai Luan fellow is generally credited with standardizing the process. He wasn't just messing around with mulberry bark and hemp scraps for fun. He was changing the course of human history. Think about it, no paper, no books. No books, no, well, everything would be different. You might not even be watching this video. You might be, like, chiseling instructions onto a rock tablet. Which, let's be honest, sounds like a serious pain. Now, here's a slightly more unusual fact for you. Did you know that in some cultures, origami figures were used in religious ceremonies? It's not just about folding cute animals. Paper folding has a long and rich history connected to spiritual practices. In Shinto weddings, for example, paper butterflies are used to represent the bride and groom. How sweet is that? Talk about a symbolically rich union. Although, imagine being a paper butterfly. Your entire existence is defined by a single wedding ceremony. Talk about pressure. Historians still argue whether paper originated independently in other parts of the world, or whether the Chinese method was disseminated outwards through trade and cultural exchange. The transmission of knowledge, especially in ancient times, is never a simple, straightforward story. There's always a bit of mystery, a bit of conjecture, a bit of, well, maybe this happened, or maybe it didn't. That's what makes history so much fun, right? The endless possibilities. The detective work. The sheer volume of dusty books. Anyway, back to our folding. Now that you've folded the left panel in, take a good look at it. Admire its straight edge. Appreciate its crisp crease. Let it know that you're proud of it. Because you are. You should be. Even if it's a little wonky. We've all been there. But, don't get too attached to it. Because we're about to do something else to it. Specifically, we're going to fold it again. I know. You're thinking, but I just folded it. Can't we just leave it alone? Nope. Sorry. This is origami. We fold things. It's what we do. This time, you're going to take that newly folded edge, the one you just creased so lovingly, and fold it over again to meet the center crease. So, you're essentially folding the left panel in half, lengthwise. This is like giving that left panel a little hug. A paper hug. A hug made of, well, paper. Again, precision is key. Line up that edge with the center crease as accurately as possible. This fold is going to determine the overall shape of our thing. I'm not going to reveal what we're making yet. That would spoil the surprise. It's like watching a movie and having someone shout out the ending halfway through. Rude. Once you're satisfied with the alignment, crease that fold. Firmly, decisively, with the confidence of a seasoned origami master. Or, just a person who's trying to fold a piece of paper. Either way, same difference. And, voila! You folded the left panel twice. Congratulate yourself. Pat yourself on the back. Do a little origami happy dance. I won't judge. Now, take a step back and look at what you've done. You've transformed the left side of the paper into a neat little folded package. It's all contained and orderly and, well, folded. It's kind of amazing, isn't it, what you can do with a simple piece of paper? It's like magic. Or, just really clever geometry. While you're contemplating the wonders of paper folding, let me regale you with another historical tidbit. Did you know that origami actually didn't become widely popular outside of Japan until the mid-20th century? Before that, it was a relatively niche art form. It took the dedication of passionate individuals and the power of international exchange to bring origami to the world stage. Now, it's everywhere. You can find origami books, origami kits, origami workshops, even origami-themed cafes. It's a global phenomenon. A paper folding pandemic. But, the good kind. The kind that doesn't involve masks or social distancing. Speaking of pandemics, here's a quirky fact. During the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, some people made origami cranes as a symbol of hope and healing. It's a poignant reminder that even in the darkest of times, art can provide solace and inspiration. A tiny paper bird carrying the weight of human hope. It's enough to make you a little misty-eyed, isn't it? Or maybe that's just the paper dust getting in my eyes. Historians still argue whether origami's spread was primarily due to individual enthusiasts, educational initiatives, or the broader cultural fascination with Japanese art and design in the post-war era. It was likely a combination of factors, of course, but teasing out the specific influences is a complex and ongoing process. It's like trying to untangle a particularly knotty piece of yarn. You can see where it's supposed to go, but getting there is another story entirely. So, where were we? Ah yes, folding. You folded the left panel twice. It's looking good. It's looking foldy. One last thing, and this is important. Make sure that final fold is really crisp. You want a sharp, well-defined edge. This is going to be crucial for the next step. If your fold is sloppy and uneven, the whole thing could fall apart. Metaphorically speaking, of course. The paper won't literally explode or anything. But it will be less aesthetically pleasing. And nobody wants that. Seriously, though, take a moment to really focus on that crease. Use your fingernail, use a bone folder, use whatever tool you have at your disposal. Just make sure it's nice and sharp. Okay, I think that's it for this step. You've successfully folded the left panel. Twice. You are a folding machine. A paper-bending virtuoso. Okay, I'm running out of synonyms for folder. But seriously, good job. You're one step closer to whatever it is we're making. I know I'm being coy, but trust me, it'll be worth it. Just keep folding. Keep creasing. Keep believing in the power of paper. And maybe, just maybe, you'll create something truly amazing. Or, at the very least, something slightly interesting. Either way, you'll have learned something. And that's what really matters, right? Now, take a deep breath. Stretch your fingers. Maybe do a little origami-themed yoga. And get ready for the next step. Because we're not done yet. Oh no, we're just getting started. The paper folding adventure continues. And I'm here for it. Are you? I hope so. Because I'm not letting you leave until we finish this thing. Consider yourself warned. Alright, settle in, because we're diving right back into the origami ocean. You've successfully tackled the left panel, hopefully without accidentally creating a modern art sculpture instead of a preliminary fold. If you did, no judgment, maybe you're onto something. But for the sake of this project, let's rewind a little and assume you have a perfectly crisp, beautifully creased left panel, ready to be mirrored on the right. Good. That's the spirit. Now, take a deep breath. Inhale the potential, exhale the origami anxiety. You're basically a paper folding prodigy at this point, having conquered gravity, geometry, and the inherent stubbornness of cellulose. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but a little confidence never hurt anyone, especially when facing the symmetrical challenge that lies ahead. We're talking about the right panel, the yin to the left panel's yang, the peanut butter to its slightly different peanut butter, because, you know, origami. It's all paper, after all. You see that untouched expanse of paper on the right? That's your canvas. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, and you have, because you're still here, is to replicate the folds you painstakingly executed on the left, but in reverse. Mirror, mirror, on the page, who's the fairest fold of all? Hopefully, it will be both of them, equally lovely and symmetrical. Remember that mountain fold you made on the left, creating that neat little peak? You're going to find its corresponding point on the right and recreate that same fold. The key here is precision. Try not to eyeball it. I know, eyeballing is tempting. It's like estimating how long it'll take to assemble IKEA furniture. You always underestimate, and then 3 hours later, surrounded by Allen wrenches and existential dread, you're questioning all your life choices. Don't let your origami project become your flat-pack furniture nightmare. Use those creases you already made as guides. They are your paper folding stars, guiding you through the night. Feel the paper between your fingers. Listen to the subtle rustling as you manipulate it. Ah, ASMR for the artistically inclined. This is your Zen moment. Embrace it. Find your inner peace through perfectly aligned paper. Unless, of course, you're like me and origami just makes you slightly more stressed. In that case, embrace the stress, channel it into precise folds, and then reward yourself with a large cup of tea. Now, that valley fold that created a gentle trough on the left. You're going to recreate that on the right as well. Remember to align the edges carefully. This is where your patience will be tested. Don't rush it. Think of it like applying eyeliner. Rush it, and you end up looking like a raccoon who's had a very rough night. Take your time, and you'll achieve that perfectly symmetrical wing. Except, with paper instead of eyeliner. As you work, you might find yourself wondering about the history of origami. I mean, you're folding paper, it's natural to wonder about the origins of the art. While paper itself was invented in China, its transformative folding into elaborate figures blossomed in Japan, evolving from ceremonial uses to recreational delight. For centuries, origami designs were closely guarded secrets, transmitted orally from one generation to the next. Imagine the pressure. One slip of the tongue, and you've ruined the family's paper crane legacy. Historians still argue whether origami independently arose in other cultures, but its Japanese incarnation is the most well-known and extensively documented. Some scholars suggest that paper folding existed in other parts of the world, such as Europe. But the question remains, was it true origami, or just some clever folding of napkins at fancy dinner parties? The debate rages on. Now, let's get back to the task at hand. You're creasing, you're folding, you're mirroring. You're doing great. Remember that tiny little tuck you made on the left? Replicate that on the right. This is where your attention to detail really shines. Think of it like spotting a tiny imperfection on a perfectly baked cake. Nobody else might notice it, but you know it's there, and you can't rest until it's fixed. Embrace that perfectionist within. Just don't let it consume you. Origami should be relaxing, not a source of existential dread. And that little flap you folded over? Mirror that too. Each fold, each crease, each tiny manipulation is building towards the final form. You're not just folding paper, you're shaping a miniature world. A world of sharp angles and precise lines. A world where symmetry reigns supreme. Keep checking your work against the left panel. Is everything aligned? Are the creases sharp? Are you starting to feel a sense of accomplishment? You should be. You've come this far. You're almost there. Don't give up now. You're like a paper folding marathon runner, approaching the finish line. Just a few more folds, and you'll be victorious. You can practically taste the sweet, sweet victory of perfectly symmetrical paper. While you are meticulously recreating those folds, did you know that some people are actually allergic to money? Yep. It's called nummular dermatitis, and it's triggered by the nickel in coins or the ink and paper used in banknotes. So, while you're stressing about your origami masterpiece, someone else is breaking out in hives just by handling their paycheck. Perspective, right? As you make these mirrored folds, make sure you are being as gentle as possible. I know, you're probably thinking, gentle. What is this, a spa day? Well, origami can be a spa day for your mind, if you let it. But being gentle with the paper will prevent it from tearing or creasing in the wrong places. Remember, paper has a grain, just like wood. Folding against the grain can lead to unsightly cracks and unevenness. Think of it as petting a cat. You wouldn't pet a cat against the grain of its fur, would you? Unless you're trying to assert dominance, but that's a whole different story. Now, back to those folds. That inward fold you made that created a pocket? Replicate that. Make sure the pocket is the same size and shape as the one on the left. This is where your spatial reasoning skills come into play. You're basically a paper folding architect, constructing a miniature building out of carefully folded planes. Historians still argue whether origami is a science or an art. Is it a precise application of mathematical principles, or a creative expression of human ingenuity? Some argue that it's both. The beauty of origami lies in its ability to combine technical precision with artistic flair. It's like a perfectly written sonnet, it adheres to strict rules of form and meter, but it also expresses a unique and personal emotion. And that fold that creates a diagonal line across the panel? Mirror that. Make sure the diagonal line is parallel to the corresponding line on the left. This is where your geometric intuition comes into play. You're basically a paper-folding mathematician, calculating angles and distances with the precision of a laser beam. Or, just eyeballing it and hoping for the best. Either way, you're doing great. Okay, now, here's a little tidbit that will tickle your brain. Did you know that origami is being used in space exploration? Seriously. Scientists are using origami techniques to design deployable structures for satellites and spacecraft. These structures can be folded into a compact shape for launch and then unfolded in space to create large antennas, solar panels, or even habitats. Talk about taking paper folding to new heights. As you continue to fold, you might encounter a bit of resistance. The paper might want to spring back into its original shape. Don't let it. Assert your dominance. Show that paper who's boss. But gently. Remember, we're being gentle. It's a delicate balance, I know. It's like trying to convince a toddler to eat their vegetables. You have to be firm, but also kind and understanding. Almost there. You are in the home stretch. Those final folds that create the outer edge of the right panel. Mirror those. Make sure the edges are aligned with the corresponding edges on the left panel. This is where you can really see your work come to fruition. The two panels are starting to mirror each other perfectly, creating a symmetrical whole. You've transformed a flat sheet of paper into something beautiful and complex. And now for the final step in mirroring this panel, press down. Hold that pressure, enjoy the moment of achievement. You did it, you symmetrical wonder. It is beautiful, congratulations. You have conquered the right panel. And just think, you're one step closer to a finished masterpiece. Alright, my friend, settle back in. Let's get cozy again. We're about to face what many consider the Everest of origami shirt folding, the collar. Yes, the notorious collar. The collar that separates the casual folder from the slightly less casual folder, I suppose. There's no origami folding Olympics, sadly, although, I feel like I might win bronze. Now, remember that mostly flat, sort of sad-looking rectangle you've got in front of you? Yeah, that's going to become a collared shirt. Believe it or not. Even I sometimes have doubts. Take a deep breath. Maybe sip that herbal tea you've got brewing. Whatever it is, find your zen. You'll need it. We're going to be making precise folds now. No more of that eyeballing nonsense we may have indulged in earlier. This is where things get serious. Relatively speaking, of course. We're folding paper, not defusing a bomb. Though sometimes, it feels like it. First, identify the top edge of your rectangle. This is the edge that, logically, should form the neckline of your shirt. The one opposite the bottom edge that you folded up to meet a while back. Got it? Good. Now, and this is crucial, we're going to make two small folds downwards from that top edge. These will form the collar points. The exact size of these folds is somewhat subjective. Play with it. I usually aim for about half an inch, maybe a smidge more. The key is consistency. Make both folds the same size and as symmetrical as humanly possible. Otherwise, you'll end up with a shirt that looks like it was designed by a drunken Picasso. And while I admire Picasso, that's not the look we're going for today. Unless it is, in which case, go wild. Press those folds firmly. Use your fingernail, the edge of a credit card, the blunt end of a pen, whatever gets you a nice, sharp crease. Crisp folds are our friends. Limp folds are, well, they're just sad. Alright, collar points established. Doesn't quite look like a collar yet, does it? Don't worry, we're getting there. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was an origami shirt collar. Next, we're going to fold the entire top edge downwards, bringing it down to meet those freshly minted collar points. This fold is what actually creates the collar band. Again, precision is key. You want the top edge to align neatly with the bottom edges of those little collar point folds. Before you commit to this fold with a firm crease, take a moment to admire your handiwork. Does it look like a collar in embryonic form? If not, adjust. Slide the top edge up or down slightly until you're happy with the overall shape. Remember, you're the artist here. Embrace your inner fashion designer. Once you're satisfied, crease it. Really crease it. Make it believe in itself. Make it know that it's a collar. Now, we're going to perform what I like to call the tuck-under maneuver. Take the entire folded down collar section, and tuck it under the main body of the shirt. Basically, you're folding it backwards and hiding it from view. This part can be a little fiddly. You might need to gently pry apart the layers of paper to create a pocket for the collar to tuck into. Be patient. Be gentle. Don't force it. Paper, like people, responds poorly to aggression. The goal is to have the collar neatly tucked away, with just the collar points peeking out above the neckline. If you've done it right, you should now be looking at something that vaguely resembles a miniature dress shirt. With a collar. Give yourself a pat on the back. You've conquered the collar. You have stared into the abyss of origami complexity and emerged victorious. Or at least, slightly less defeated. Now, before we get too smug, let's talk a little history. You know, to justify the fact that you're spending your precious time folding paper. Did you know that the detachable shirt collar, a precursor to what we have today, became popular in the 19th century? It was a revolution in laundry practices. Instead of washing the entire shirt every day, you could just wash the collar and cuffs. It was a game changer for busy gentlemen. Though, I suspect laundry day back then was still probably worse than doing a mountain of whites and colors in a modern machine. Imagine the starching. And speaking of starch, here's a delightfully bizarre fact: in the late 1800s, some overly enthusiastic fashion plates were wearing paper collars and cuffs. Yes, paper. Imagine the chafing. And the susceptibility to rain. It was the height of disposable fashion, long before fast fashion became a thing. Now, I know what you're thinking, paper collars? Seriously? But hey, look at us. We're making a shirt out of paper. So who are we to judge? On the topic of collars, historians still argue whether the stiff, high collars of the Victorian era were a symbol of social status, a reflection of the era's rigid social norms, or simply a really uncomfortable fashion trend. Personally, I'm leaning towards uncomfortable. I can barely stand a button down on a video call, let alone a constricting piece of cardboard around my neck. Now, back to our paper garment. Take a good look at your origami shirt. Examine the collar. Is it acceptable? Does it meet your exacting standards? If not, now's the time to make adjustments. Gently unfold the tucked under section, tweak the folds, and try again. Origami is all about iteration. It's about learning from your mistakes and slowly, painstakingly, transforming a flat piece of paper into something resembling a shirt. Or, at least, a representation of a shirt that is more or less recognizable as such. I'm being overly critical, I know. Your shirt is probably perfectly lovely. But I also want to encourage you to strive for perfection. Or at least, for pretty darn good. Let's have a moment of levity, shall we? I heard a joke the other day: why did the origami shirt break up with the origami crane? Because he kept folding under pressure. I know, I should probably quit my day job. But honestly, this is my day job now, so... Okay, pep talk over. Let's move on to the next step, shall we? We've got a collared shirt, but it's still a bit shapeless. It lacks definition. It needs a little something extra. It needs sleeves. And perhaps a button or two. Though buttons are, sadly, beyond the scope of today's lesson. Maybe we can add those later with a Sharpie. Or maybe not. Before we get to the sleeves, though, let's address a small but important detail, the front placket. That's the strip of fabric down the front of a dress shirt where the buttons and buttonholes are. Locate the center line of your shirt. This is the line that runs vertically down the middle of the garment, from the collar to the bottom edge. Now, on each side of that center line, make a small fold inwards. These folds should be parallel to the center line and about ½ an inch wide. These will create the front placket. Crease those folds firmly. This will give your shirt a more tailored, polished look. It's a small detail, but it makes a big difference. It's like adding a tie to an outfit. It elevates the whole thing. See? Already looking sharper, isn't it? Even if it is only a tiny paper shirt. And before you know it, we'll have a fleet of tiny paper shirts, ready to conquer the world. Or, at least, to sit on a shelf and look pretty. Which, let's be honest, is a pretty good accomplishment in itself. I've got another joke for you. What did the origami shirt say to the dryer? I'm folding under pressure. Seriously, I need new material. Maybe I should ask an AI to write my jokes. Although, those probably wouldn't be much better. Alright, settle in, settle in. Just getting comfy? Good. Because we're about to tackle the surprisingly nuanced art of sleeve folding. I know, sounds riveting, right? But trust me, a well-folded sleeve can be the difference between looking like you just crawled out of a laundry basket and looking like you own the laundry basket. There's a certain power in organized fabric, you know. So, you've got your garment, be it a crisp dress shirt, a cozy sweater, or maybe even that slightly too tight band t-shirt you refuse to let go of, and you've conquered the body. Well done, you. Now, we're venturing into the limb zones. And yes, I did just call sleeves limb zones. I'm feeling creative today, alright? Don't judge. First things first, lay your garment flat, sleeves outstretched like it's trying to catch some sun. Feel free to actually take it outside for a sec. The sun's pretty nice. Okay, back inside. We have sleeves to tame. Now, imagine you're a tiny, benevolent dictator of fabric. Your mission? To impose order and prevent wrinkly chaos. Start by smoothing out any wrinkles or creases in the sleeve. You can use your hands, a ruler, a credit card, whatever gets the job done. Personally, I sometimes use my phone. Don't judge my methods. The first fold is crucial. You're going to fold the cuff back towards the shoulder, aligning the edge of the cuff with the shoulder seam. This is your base, your foundation, your sleeve folding raison d'etre. Make it a good one. Press down firmly to create a crisp line. No one likes a floppy fold. Now, here's where things can get interesting. Depending on the length of the sleeve and the overall size of the garment, you might need to adjust the fold. If the sleeve is particularly long, you might need to fold it back a little further than the shoulder seam. Just eyeball it. We're not aiming for perfection here, people, just a respectable level of tidiness. Unless, of course, you are aiming for perfection. In that case, good luck. You'll need it. Alright, so you've got your cuff folded back. Now what? Well, you're going to fold the sleeve again, this time bringing the folded edge of the cuff down to meet the opposite edge of the sleeve. Essentially, you're folding the sleeve in half, lengthwise. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Note, actual ease of lemon squeezing may vary. Again, press down firmly to create a nice, clean fold. You want that sleeve to stay put. It's like training a wild animal. You need to be firm but gentle. Okay, maybe not that gentle. Just don't rip the fabric. That's generally frowned upon. Now, repeat this process for the other sleeve. It's important to try and make both sleeves roughly the same size and shape. Symmetry is your friend here. Unless you're going for a deliberately asymmetrical look, in which case, disregard everything I just said. Art, man. It's subjective. And there you have it. Neatly folded sleeves. Not exactly rocket science, but definitely a step up from just shoving everything into a drawer and hoping for the best. But wait. We can take this a step further. We can achieve peak sleeve folding performance. Are you ready? I hope so, because I'm not stopping now. For extra credit, you can use the rolling method. Instead of folding the sleeve flat, you roll it tightly from the cuff towards the shoulder. This can be especially useful for sweaters or other bulky items that take up a lot of space. It's like making a tiny fabric burrito. And who doesn't love burritos? Rolling can also help to prevent wrinkles, as it keeps the fabric taut and prevents it from creasing. Just be careful not to roll it too tightly, or you might end up stretching the fabric out of shape. Again, it's a delicate balance. Like walking a tightrope while juggling flaming torches. Except, with sleeves. Now, a quick detour into the annals of textile history. Did you know that the concept of sleeves has evolved quite dramatically over time? In ancient Egypt, for example, many garments were sleeveless, or featured very rudimentary sleeves that were little more than extensions of the shoulder. It wasn't until later periods that sleeves became more elaborate and integral to the design of clothing. There's even evidence suggesting some early civilizations used sleeves to denote social status, with longer or more ornate sleeves indicating a higher rank. Imagine, look at Lord Reginald with his excessively long sleeves. He must be very important. Fashion, right? Always making a statement. On the fringes of textile lore, some believe that the way you fold your sleeves can actually influence your luck. Apparently, folding them inwards brings good fortune, while folding them outwards invites misfortune. I'm not sure how much stock I put in that, but hey, if you're feeling superstitious, it can't hurt to fold inwards, right? I mean, unless you want bad luck. In which case, fold away, my friend. Fold away. Historians still argue whether the invention of the sewing machine was a blessing or a curse for the art of garment folding. On the one hand, it allowed for the mass production of clothing, making it more accessible to the general population. On the other hand, it arguably led to a decline in the appreciation for handcrafted techniques and the meticulous attention to detail that went into folding garments by hand. It's a complex issue, and one that continues to be debated to this day. Imagine having a full-on academic conference about sleeve folding. I'd attend. Would you? Now, back to the task at hand. You folded or rolled your sleeves, and now you're ready to place your garment in a drawer or on a shelf. The key here is to avoid overcrowding. Overcrowding leads to wrinkles, and wrinkles are the enemy. Think of your drawer or shelf as a carefully curated art gallery, and each garment as a masterpiece deserving of its own space. Okay, maybe that's a bit much, but you get the idea. If you're storing your garments in a drawer, you can try the file folding method. This involves folding the garment into a rectangular shape and then standing it up on its edge, like a file in a filing cabinet. This allows you to see all of your garments at a glance and prevents them from getting buried at the bottom of the drawer. It's also incredibly satisfying to look at. Like a perfectly organized library, but with clothes. Another trick is to use drawer dividers to separate different types of garments. This can help to keep things organized and prevent your socks from getting mixed up with your underwear. Unless, of course, you want your socks to get mixed up with your underwear. In which case, go for it. I'm not here to judge. And finally, a little tip for keeping your clothes smelling fresh: place a sachet of lavender or cedar chips in your drawer or on your shelf. This will not only keep your clothes smelling nice, but it can also help to repel moths and other pests. Plus, the scent of lavender is incredibly relaxing. Which is always a good thing, right? So, there you have it. A comprehensive guide to the art of sleeve folding. I know, it sounds like a trivial thing, but trust me, a little bit of effort in this area can make a big difference in the overall appearance of your wardrobe. And who knows, maybe it will even bring you good luck. Just remember to fold inwards. I'm going to level with you. Sleeve folding is not exactly my favorite activity. It's right up there with parallel parking and trying to decipher IKEA instructions. But hey, someone's gotta do it, right? And at least now you're armed with the knowledge and skills to do it efficiently and effectively. Or at least slightly better than you did before. Which, let's be honest, is a win in my book. I'm easily impressed. One last quirky fact, did you know that some people believe that the number of folds in a garment can affect its energy? Apparently, odd numbers of folds are considered to be more auspicious than even numbers. So, if you're feeling particularly adventurous, you might want to try experimenting with different folding techniques to see if you can find the perfect number of folds to maximize your garment's positive energy. Just don't blame me if it doesn't work. I'm just throwing it out there. And one last historical anecdote, during the Renaissance, elaborate sleeve designs were all the rage. Sleeves were often detachable and could be swapped out to create different looks. Some sleeves were even padded or stuffed with straw to create a more voluminous silhouette. Imagine having a whole collection of sleeves to choose from every day. That sounds kind of amazing, actually. Maybe I should start a sleeve collection. You know, for research purposes. Alright, I think that's all for now. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, or at least mildly entertaining. And remember, don't stress too much about getting everything perfect. At the end of the day, it's just sleeves. Just relax, have fun, and fold on. I am genuinely sleepy now, and I think my voice has dropped to that whisper level it does. Just take these sleeve folding tips, settle in, and let the sleep take you. No, you're already asleep. Oh. Alright, settle in. Get comfy. Maybe fluff that pillow just a little bit, there. Perfect. We're back at it, and you're doing great. Seriously, the way you handled that last fold. Textbook. You're practically an origami master, in training. I mean, we're only 5 steps in. But potential master. So, what's next, oh folding prodigy? Step 6. And it's a big one. You're going to take all that careful work you've done, all those crisp edges you've so lovingly created, and fold the body in half. Bringing the top and bottom together. I know. It sounds dramatic. Like we're about to bisect a tiny paper person. But trust me, it's all part of the process. Before you commit, just take a moment. Run your finger along the edges one last time. Make sure everything is aligned. You wouldn't want a rogue corner sticking out, would you? That's like wearing socks with sandals. Just, a visual crime. Think of the crease you're about to create as a spine for our paper creation. It needs to be strong, true, and perfectly centered. You see, this central fold isn't just about aesthetics. It's about structural integrity. Think about it like the Roman aqueducts. Those engineering marvels, transporting fresh water across vast distances. Ever wonder how they managed that? Well, aside from a lot of very talented engineers and presumably some decent math, the key was the arch. The arch distributed the weight evenly, preventing the whole thing from collapsing. That central fold in your origami? Same principle. Sort of. Okay, not really exactly the same. Aqueducts carry water, and this is paper, but you get the idea, right? Structure, strength, importance. Like a good cup of coffee in the morning. Essential. And speaking of essential things, did you know the Romans didn't just build aqueducts? They also had public toilets. And get this, they were communal. No privacy whatsoever. Just a row of stone seats with holes in them. Imagine that. Talk about awkward small talk. Historians still argue whether this was a testament to their communal spirit or simply a lack of plumbing technology. Either way, I think I'd rather take my chances with a squatty potty in the woods. Just saying. Okay, back to the fold. Are you ready? Deep breath. Exhale. Now, gently bring the top edge down to meet the bottom edge. Feel the paper resisting slightly. That's okay. That means you've done a good job keeping the layers neat and tidy. Now, press firmly along the crease. Really commit to it. We want a sharp, clean line. Like a perfectly tailored suit. Or a well-executed comeback. Remember that time you accidentally called your teacher, Mom? Yeah, that comeback wasn't quite as sharp. We've all been there. Hold it there for a moment, just to let that crease really set in. Think of it as pressing pause on life's remote control. A brief respite from the chaos. A little origami meditation. Okay, maybe that's stretching it. It's just paper folding. But hey, a guy can dream, right? Now, unfold it. Carefully. We don't want to undo all that hard work. See that crisp line running down the center? That's your guide. That's your North Star. Okay, I'll stop with the metaphors. But seriously, that line is important. Now, get ready to fold the top and bottom edges to that center line. We're talking precise folds, people. Millimeter perfect. Okay, maybe not millimeter perfect. But close. This is where your attention to detail really pays off. Think of it like making a really good sandwich. You wouldn't just slap the fillings in there haphazardly, would you? No. You'd carefully arrange each layer, ensuring a perfect balance of flavors and textures. Same principle applies here. Sort of. Again. Okay, I need to stop making food analogies. It's making me hungry. Take the top edge and fold it down to meet that center line. Press it firmly. Then do the same with the bottom edge, folding it up to meet the center line. You should now have a long, thin rectangle. Almost like a paper airplane, but not quite. We're not building planes today. We're building something else. Something much more mysterious. Dun dun dun. Speaking of mysteries, ever heard of the Voynich manuscript? It's this ancient, handwritten book filled with bizarre illustrations and text in an unknown language. Nobody has ever been able to decipher it. For centuries, cryptographers, linguists, and amateur sleuths have tried to crack the code, but it remains stubbornly unreadable. Some people think it's a hoax, while others believe it contains secrets that are too dangerous for the world to know. Me? I think it's just a really elaborate shopping list written by someone who really liked plants. One bunch of the curly green kind. And some of the pointy blue ones. You know the ones. But who knows? Maybe it holds the key to unlocking the universe. Or maybe it's just a really, really long recipe for a casserole. Alright, so you've got your long, thin rectangle. How's it looking? Nice and symmetrical. Great. A symmetrical rectangle is a happy rectangle. And a happy rectangle leads to, well, a slightly less stressed out you, probably. Which is always a good thing. Because honestly, who needs more stress in their life? We've got bills to pay, deadlines to meet, and that one coworker who insists on microwaving fish in the office kitchen. The horror. Now, get ready to fold the top and bottom edges to the new center line. Yes, that's right. We're folding again. I know. It feels like we've been folding for days. But we're almost there, trust me. This is like the last mile of a marathon. Except instead of running, you're folding paper. And instead of getting a medal, you get a sense of accomplishment. And maybe a paper creation. Which is arguably just as good. Maybe. Fold the top edge down to meet the center line. Press. Fold the bottom edge up to meet the center line. Press. Now you should have an even narrower rectangle. Looking good. Almost like a little paper, something. I'm not going to spoil the surprise just yet. You'll have to wait and see. Although, if you are one of those people who just jumps ahead in the tutorial, that's on you. But you're missing out on the journey. And while we're on the topic of journeys, did you know that the Oregon Trail was actually a really, really rough trip? We're talking dysentery, broken axles, and the constant threat of running out of food. And yet, thousands of pioneers braved those dangers to seek a better life in the West. They packed up their wagons, said goodbye to their families, and set off into the unknown. Can you imagine the courage it took to do that? And the sheer grit and determination? I mean, I get stressed out just trying to parallel park. Of course, that's not the whole story. What the history books often leave out is that the Oregon Trail also involved displacing countless Native American tribes. While pioneers were looking for a new beginning, they were taking that very thing away from others. So next time you hear someone romanticizing the Oregon Trail, remember that it was a complex and often tragic event with a lot of different sides to it. Now that you have the newly creased and narrowed rectangle, you are now ready for the next step, and hopefully you're relaxed and confident that you are one step closer to origami mastery. Take your time. And I'll see you in the next step. You've earned it. Seriously. You've earned it. Now, keep going. Okay, here we go. The final fold. Deep breath. You've made it this far, champ. You've weathered the storms of origami history, navigated the treacherous seas of paper selection, and somehow managed not to glue your fingers together in the earlier steps. Honestly, I'm impressed. You're practically a paper folding ninja at this point. Or, at the very least, a very determined paper folder. Now, what is it about this final stage that always seems to induce a little bit of anxiety? Maybe it's the pressure. All that work, all that meticulous folding, culminating in this one, final, fold. It's like the free throw at the end of the basketball game. Or the last question on a pop quiz you didn't study for. You can feel the weight of expectation, can't you? Well, try to ignore it. We're going to nail this. We're going to fold this thing so perfectly that it will make Marie Kondo weep with joy. So, let's take a look. Remember where we left off. You should have something that vaguely resembles, well, something. Hopefully, that something is closer to your intended creation than a crumpled ball of despair. If it's the latter, maybe take a quick break, grab a cup of tea, and come back with fresh eyes. Origami is a marathon, not a sprint. Unless, of course, you're folding a particularly fast-looking paper airplane. Then, by all means, sprint. Okay, so we're assuming that you have something resembling our intended shape. Good. Now, this final fold is often about refining that shape, adding the little details that make all the difference. It's like putting the cherry on top of a sundae. Or the perfect Instagram filter on a selfie. You know, the one that makes you look effortlessly flawless, even though you haven't slept in 3 days. Seriously though, pay attention to the creases. Are they crisp and clean? Do they align perfectly? If not, now is the time to make adjustments. Gently unfold the areas that need attention and recrease them with care. Remember, the sharper the crease, the more defined your final shape will be. Think of it as sharpening your sword before going into battle. Or sharpening your folding bone. I don't know. Just go with it. And speaking of sharp, let's talk about bone folders. These little tools are your best friends when it comes to creating crisp, clean creases. They're typically made of, well, bone, hence the name. But don't worry, no origami skeletons were harmed in the making of your bone folder. Nowadays, they're more likely to be made of plastic or Teflon. You might be thinking, do I really need a bone folder? And the answer is, well, it depends. If you're just folding a simple paper airplane, probably not. But if you're tackling more complex origami projects, a bone folder is an absolute game changer. It allows you to create creases that are so sharp, they could probably cut diamonds. Okay, maybe not diamonds. But they'll definitely cut through paper like a hot knife through butter. Metaphorically, of course. Please don't try to cut butter with your bone folder. That would be weird. Anyway, back to the final fold. You've made your adjustments, you've sharpened your creases, and now it's time to commit. Take a deep breath, align the edges, and make that final fold. Exhale. There. You did it. Now, don't get too excited just yet. The job's not quite done. We need to smooth everything out. This is where you gently massage your creation, working out any remaining wrinkles or imperfections. It's like giving your paper a little spa treatment. And honestly, after all that folding, it probably deserves it. Use your fingers to smooth out the surfaces, paying particular attention to the edges and corners. You can also use your bone folder to gently burnish the creases, making them even sharper and more defined. Be careful not to apply too much pressure, though, or you might tear the paper. Remember, we're going for finesse, not force. As you smooth out your creation, you might start to notice little details that you didn't see before. Maybe a slight asymmetry, or a crease that's not quite as sharp as you'd like. Don't worry about it. Perfection is overrated. And besides, a little imperfection just adds character. Think of it as a birthmark on a supermodel. Or a slightly crooked smile on a movie star. It's what makes them unique. Seriously, the history of origami is full of happy accidents and unexpected innovations. For example, did you know that the Japanese word for paper, kami, is the same word for God? This reflects the deep cultural significance that paper has held in Japan for centuries. Paper was first introduced to Japan from China around the 6th century by Buddhist monks, and quickly became a treasured material. The first documented instance of origami being tied to a significant cultural event was during the Muromachi period, 1336 to 1573, when nashi, folded paper ornaments, were attached to gifts. These early forms of origami were primarily used for religious ceremonies and decoration, often associated with Shinto shrines. Kami, you see. Now, nashi are still used today, symbolizing good luck and fortune. They're often seen attached to envelopes containing money, gifts, or even business cards. So, next time you receive a gift with a nashi attached, you'll know that it's not just a pretty decoration, it's a symbol of goodwill and best wishes. And, in some cases, a serious wad of cash. But here's a quirky tidbit for you. Historians still argue whether origami's early development occurred independently in Japan or was significantly influenced by similar paper folding traditions in other parts of the world, particularly China. Some scholars believe that the principles of folding paper were known in China long before they were adopted in Japan, and that these techniques were transmitted along with the introduction of paper itself. Others maintain that origami developed its unique characteristics and artistic expression primarily within Japan, shaped by its distinct cultural and religious practices. You know what else is quirky? The fact that some people believe that origami can actually heal you. That's right, I'm talking about origami therapy. Proponents of this practice claim that the act of folding paper can reduce stress, improve concentration, and even alleviate symptoms of depression and anxiety. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I can definitely see the appeal. There's something incredibly calming about focusing on a single piece of paper and transforming it into something beautiful. Plus, it's a lot cheaper than actual therapy. Although, if you're dealing with serious mental health issues, please seek professional help. Origami is a great supplement, but it's not a substitute for proper medical treatment. Okay, but where were we? Oh, right. Smoothing out our creation. Now, some people like to use a slightly damp cloth to help smooth out the paper. Just be careful not to get it too wet, or you'll end up with a soggy mess. Think of it like watering a delicate plant. You want to give it just enough moisture to thrive, but not so much that it drowns. And while we're on the subject of moisture, let's talk about humidity. Humidity can actually affect the way your paper folds. In dry climates, paper tends to become brittle and crack easily. In humid climates, paper can become limp and difficult to crease. So, if you live in a particularly dry or humid area, you might need to adjust your technique accordingly. I know, it sounds complicated, but trust me, it's worth it. You're smoothing, and as you look at your completed work, you're starting to feel a sense of accomplishment. Maybe even a little bit of pride. You've taken a flat piece of paper and transformed it into something beautiful, something unique, something that reflects your own creativity and skill. And that, my friend, is the magic of origami. It's not just about folding paper. It's about connecting with your inner artist, challenging yourself to learn new things, and finding joy in the simple act of creation. It's about taking something ordinary and making it extraordinary. I mean, who would have thought that a simple piece of paper could be so powerful? And, honestly, this also applies to a good grilled cheese. Okay, settle in, friend. Let's keep our voices down, shall we? We've got some precious cargo to discuss. Not diamonds, not gold, even better. We're talking kimono. These aren't just clothes, they're wearable art, little slices of history, sometimes older than your grandpa's questionable fashion sense. Imagine, for a moment, you've just acquired a stunning uchicake, a wedding kimono embroidered with 1,000 tiny cranes, each bead painstakingly placed. You're practically vibrating with excitement. Now, what? Are you just gonna chuck it in the back of your closet, next to your shutters, those Crocs with socks? Please, no. That kimono deserves better. You deserve better. We all deserve better than Crocs and socks. First things first, cleanliness. Sounds obvious, right? But it's not just about visible stains. You've got to think like a tiny, ravenous moth, because, trust me, they are thinking about you. About your kimono, specifically. They're planning a feast. So, before you even consider storing it, make sure your kimono is impeccably clean. Ideally, you'd have it professionally cleaned by someone specializing in kimono care. Yes, those exist. No, your regular dry cleaner down the street who also cleans your questionable Hawaiian shirts doesn't count. Think of it this way, you wouldn't entrust a priceless painting to someone who usually paints fences, would you? Kimono cleaning is a delicate art. They often use special techniques, gentle solvents, and a whole lot of patience. This isn't a one-hour service kinda deal. We're talking about something that might have taken someone months, even years, to create. Now, if professional cleaning isn't in the cards, maybe you're on a budget, or maybe you're feeling brave, you can spot clean very carefully. I'm talking Q-tip and distilled water careful. Test a hidden area first. Don't go attacking that beautiful silk with bleach and reckless abandon. Just, don't. The general rule is, if you're unsure, don't do it. Seriously. Just leave it to the professionals. You'll thank yourself later. Once it's clean, you need to prepare for storage. This is where things get a little ritualistic. Think of it as a spa day for your kimono. You'll need a good-sized, flat surface, a large table works well, and some tatoshi. Tatoshi are those specialized paper wrappers used to store kimono. They're typically made of a breathable, acid-free paper that helps protect the fabric from moisture, dust, and, you guessed it, those pesky moths. They usually have strings so that you can tie them closed. If you don't have tatoshi, you can use acid-free tissue paper, but tatoshi are really the gold standard here. Think of them as little cocoons for your beautiful silk butterflies. Now, unfold your kimono carefully. Avoid any sudden movements, we don't want to stress the fabric. Place it flat on your table, smoothing out any wrinkles. Next, you need to fold it properly. This isn't like folding your laundry, okay? There's a specific method, a precise choreography of folds that's been passed down for generations. There are countless video tutorials online, so feel free to follow along with one. But, in essence, you're aiming to create a neat, rectangular package that fits snugly inside the tatoshi. Don't pack it too tight, though. The kimono needs room to breathe. Imagine you are tucking a baby into its cradle, not crushing it with the weight of the world. Okay, so, now we get to the fun part, storage. Where do you actually put this precious, perfectly folded bundle of joy? You absolutely need to avoid direct sunlight. Sunlight is the enemy. It fades colors, weakens fibers, and generally wreaks havoc on delicate fabrics. Think of it like Dracula and sunshine, except less sparkly. And humidity? Forget about it. Too much moisture can lead to mold and mildew, which are even less desirable than moths. A cool, dry, dark place is ideal. Think of a cedar chest. The scent of cedar is naturally moth-repellent, which is a nice bonus. Although some argue about the effectiveness of cedar against modern moth varieties. Historians still argue whether Empress Komiya ordered the creation of 1,000 miniature pagodas to be distributed to temples, as a plea for divine intervention to end a devastating smallpox epidemic in the 8th century. But the point is, a cedar chest is a safe and respectable place for your kimono. Now, a little quirky tidbit for you: in some traditional Japanese homes, kimonos were stored in tansu, specialized chests of drawers made from paulownia wood. Paulownia wood is lightweight, resistant to moisture and insects, and even has a low flammability, a pretty useful feature in a country prone to earthquakes and fires. Basically, it's like Fort Knox for your kimono. If you don't have a cedar chest or a tansu, a dark closet will do. Just make sure it's not damp or stuffy. And keep it away from anything that might snag or damage the fabric. Think sharp edges, rough surfaces, and, again, those infernal crocs with socks. Layering is your friend here. Keep your kimonos separated so they don't rub against each other. Now, let's talk about hangers. You might be tempted to hang your kimono. After all, that's what you do with your other clothes, right? But hanging a heavy kimono can stretch the shoulders and distort the shape. Plus, those metal hangers can rust and stain the fabric. Yikes! If you absolutely must hang your kimono, use a wide, padded kimono hanger. These hangers are specifically designed to distribute the weight evenly and prevent damage. Wrap the hanger in acid-free tissue paper for extra protection. Just, please, promise me you won't use a flimsy wire hanger. I beg you. So, you've cleaned, folded, and stored your kimono. Now what? Do you just forget about it and leave it to languish in the darkness for years? Absolutely not. You need to air it out periodically. Once or twice a year, take your kimono out of its tatoshi, unfold it gently, and let it breathe. Choose a dry, sunny day, but avoid direct sunlight. And hang it in a well-ventilated area. This will help prevent mold and mildew and keep the fabric fresh. Think of it as taking your kimono for a little walk in the park. Okay, maybe not literally. But you get the idea. Let it stretch its metaphorical legs, soak up some fresh air, and remind it that it's still loved and appreciated. Now, a little fringe tidbit here: some people believe that exposing kimonos to the moon's light is beneficial, claiming that it helps to purify the fabric and enhance its colors. Of course, there's no scientific evidence to support this, but it certainly adds a touch of mystique to the whole process. Plus, imagine a nighttime slumber party with your kimono. That's an Instagram-worthy memory for sure. Let's not forget about pests. Moths aren't the only things that want to munch on your precious silks. Silverfish, carpet beetles, and other creepy crawlies can also cause damage. So, invest in some mothballs or cedar chips and place them near your kimono. Just make sure they don't come into direct contact with the fabric. You don't want to stain or damage it. There are also some more natural options like lavender sachets or dried herbs. And speaking of pests, did you know that the silkworm industry, which is crucial for kimono production, has faced numerous challenges throughout history? Diseases, environmental factors, and even economic fluctuations have all impacted silkworm populations. It's a constant battle to protect these little creatures, and it's a reminder of the delicate balance that exists in the world of textiles. Some people even freeze their kimonos in an effort to kill any residual eggs. It is a very controversial practice. So please do your research first if you are considering it. One more thing to consider: insurance. I know, it's not the most exciting topic. But if you own a valuable kimono, you should definitely consider insuring it. These things are not cheap, and they're often irreplaceable. Talk to your insurance agent and find out what kind of coverage you need. It's better to be safe than sorry. Remember, your kimono is more than just a piece of clothing. It's a piece of art, a piece of history, and a piece of yourself. By taking good care of it, you're preserving it for future generations. It is believed that the oldest extant kimono dates back to the Nara period, 710 to 794 AD. But, of course, we have no idea if they stored them correctly. So, there you have it. Everything you need to know about storing your kimono. It might seem like a lot of work, but trust me, it's worth it. Your kimono will thank you for it. And you'll be able to enjoy its beauty and elegance for years to come. Now, go forth and protect those beautiful fabrics. You have the power. Yawn. I think it's time for bed now. Alright, settle in, settle in. Let's just drift a little deeper into the world of paper folding, shall we? We've got a lot more ground to cover, and I promise, the deeper we go, the weirder, and honestly, kind of cooler it gets. I'm getting sleepy just thinking about it, in a good way, of course. So, you're standing there, fresh off mastering, say, the crane. Congratulations, by the way. High five. Virtually, of course. We don't want to crease your screen. Now, you might think you've conquered the origami universe. But oh honey, you've only just dipped your toe into the ocean of paper possibilities. Think of the crane as the gateway drug. A delightful, feathery gateway drug. The world of origami isn't this monolithic, standardized thing. It's not like there's some international folding police that are going to arrest you for not making your water bomb exactly right. No, my friend, it's a vibrant, diverse ecosystem, teeming with regional variations, personal styles, and frankly, some downright bizarre interpretations of what constitutes paper folding. You see, the way people fold paper in Japan, where origami took root and flourished, isn't necessarily the same way they do it in, say, Spain or South America. Each region has developed its own unique traditions, techniques, and even preferred types of paper. It's like pizza, everyone has their own idea of what the perfect slice should be. Deep dish? Thin crust? Pineapple? Okay, maybe not pineapple. That's controversial. Take the Spanish tradition of pajarita, for example. The pajarita, meaning little bird, is a classic design, often considered one of the simplest origami models. It's been around for centuries. But here's the thing, while a Japanese origami artist might meticulously crease every fold with surgical precision, a Spanish folder might be a bit more relaxed. You know, a little more mañana, a little less OCD. The goal is the bird, not necessarily a perfect geometric rendering of avian anatomy. And it's not just about national boundaries, either. Even within a single country, you'll find variations based on local customs and artistic preferences. It's like dialects, but with paper. A water bomb folded in Tokyo might look subtly different from one folded in Kyoto. Historians still argue whether these micro-variations are due to practical considerations, aesthetic choices, or just plain old stubbornness. Speaking of water bombs, let's pause for a moment. Because you know what's even better than a meticulously folded water bomb? A whole army of them. I picture unleashing a paper water bomb raid on unsuspecting pigeons. Harmless, of course. Just a gentle, papery shower of, oh dear, I've gone too far, haven't I? Let's move on before I start advocating for the weaponization of origami. Now, beyond the purely aesthetic, there's a fascinating layer of cultural significance attached to many origami designs. Certain folds are associated with specific celebrations, rituals, or beliefs. The crane, as you probably know, symbolizes longevity and good fortune in Japanese culture. That's why people fold 1,000 cranes for someone who's sick, hoping for a swift recovery. It's a beautiful tradition, really. Unless you're the one who has to fold all 1,000 cranes. Then, it's just a repetitive strain injury waiting to happen. But what about the other shapes? What about the frog? The samurai helmet? Or, the baffling array of abstract forms that look like they escaped from a particularly avant-garde geometry textbook? Well, each one carries its own history, its own symbolism, its own unique place in the origami pantheon. In some South American countries, for example, origami is used in religious ceremonies and festivals. Paper figures are folded and offered as gifts to deities, or used to decorate altars and sacred spaces. It's a powerful reminder that origami is more than just a craft, it's a form of expression, a way to connect with something larger than oneself. Or, just something to do on a rainy afternoon. And then there's the whole world of modular origami, which takes the concept of variation to a whole new level. Modular origami involves folding multiple identical units and then assembling them together to create a larger, more complex structure. It's like Lego, but with paper and a whole lot more patience. You can create anything from simple polyhedra to elaborate geometric sculptures that look like they belong in a museum. Or, a really cool math classroom. The beauty of modular origami is that you can experiment with different combinations of units to create your own unique designs. It's a great way to unleash your creativity and explore the endless possibilities of paper folding. Plus, if you mess up, you can just disassemble the whole thing and start over. No harm, no foul. Unlike that time I tried to bake a soufflé. Don't ask. But let's not get too caught up in the intricacies of modular origami just yet. We still have a lot of other variations to explore. Have you ever heard of wet folding? It's a technique where you slightly dampen the paper before folding it, which allows you to create softer, more organic curves. It's particularly useful for folding realistic animal figures, or for creating flowing, abstract forms. Imagine sculpting with paper, like a tiny Michelangelo with a bone folder. There's even origami tessellations, which are repeating patterns of folded paper that create a mesmerizing, almost hypnotic effect. They're often based on geometric principles, and they can be incredibly intricate and complex. I can barely fold a paper airplane that actually flies straight, and these people are out there creating mind-bending works of art with nothing but paper and some serious folding skills. Now, I know what you're thinking, this all sounds incredibly complicated. I just wanted to fold a cute little crane. And that's perfectly okay. You don't have to become an origami master overnight. Just start with the basics, experiment with different techniques, and most importantly, have fun. The joy of origami lies not just in the finished product, but in the process of creation itself. The origins of origami are debated. Some believe paper folding emerged independently in various cultures, while others trace its lineage back to ancient China. However, the meticulous refinement that defines modern origami truly blossomed in Japan, particularly during the Edo period, 1603 to 1868. This era of peace and prosperity allowed for the arts to flourish, and origami transformed from a ceremonial practice to a widespread form of recreation. And here's a quirky tidbit for you. Did you know that there's a whole subculture of origami enthusiasts who fold paper with their feet? Yes, you read that right. Foot origami. Apparently, it's a thing. I'm not entirely sure why, but I suppose it adds a certain, je ne sais quoi. Foot origami, I guess, is one way to really, put your foot in it. Terrible pun, I know. I'm so sorry. Ultimately, you'll discover that the regional differences in origami are more than just stylistic quirks. They reflect the unique cultural values, artistic traditions, and historical experiences of different communities around the world. It's a reminder that even something as simple as folding paper can be a powerful expression of human creativity and cultural identity. So, the next time you pick up a piece of paper, remember that you're not just folding a shape. You're connecting with a long and rich history, a global community of artists and enthusiasts, and a tradition that has been passed down through generations. And who knows, maybe you'll even invent your own unique folding style, adding your own little twist to the ever-evolving world of origami. Just promise me you won't fold anything with your feet. Please. For my sanity. And yours. I suspect the paper cuts would be particularly unpleasant. Right, that's enough folding for one evening. Okay, settle in, get comfy. Maybe grab a cup of chamomile tea. Today, we're diving deep into something utterly fascinating, something you might not even realize is still around, let alone a significant part of Japanese culture, the enduring legacy of kimono folding. You see a kimono, maybe in a movie, maybe you've even been lucky enough to see one up close. The silk, the colors, the artistry, it's breathtaking, right? But have you ever stopped to think about what happens after it's worn? It doesn't just get tossed on a hanger like your everyday jeans. Oh no, darling, we're talking about a ritual, a carefully choreographed dance of fabric and respect. We're talking about preserving history, one precise fold at a time. You might be thinking, folding? Really? Is that all that interesting? Trust me. Just like the perfect cup of coffee in the morning, the devil is in the details. And the details here? Exquisite. This isn't just about preventing wrinkles. This is about maintaining the structural integrity of a garment that can be worth more than your car. Or perhaps even more than my car. And let's be honest, that's not saying much. My car is a 2008 Corolla that I affectionately call the Rust Bucket. You gently smooth the silken fabric, feeling the cool glide beneath your fingertips. Each fold is deliberate, almost meditative. First, you'll smooth out any wrinkles, because honestly, who wants to keep a garment with unsightly creases? It's like wearing a permanent frown. You then fold the kimono lengthwise, aligning the edges perfectly. Now, you bring the sleeves in, tucking them neatly against the body of the garment. Think of it as giving your kimono a little hug. A nice, secure hug. You might be thinking, all this care must be something to do with the materials that make up the kimonos. Historically, kimonos were made of hemp and linen, although silk became the dominant material from the Heian period onward, because, well, silk is fabulous. But you weren't just wearing any old fabric, you were swathed in something precious. This care extended to every aspect of kimono ownership, from the way you wore it to the way you stored it. Now, you carefully fold the kimono in thirds, creating a neat, compact package. It's a bit like origami, but instead of a paper crane, you're creating a portable piece of art. Each layer cradling the next. It's almost like the kimono is taking a nap. The final step. Securing it with tatoshi, special paper, like a protective cocoon for your precious garment. It breathes, it shields, and it speaks volumes of your respect. You might not know that the tatoshi are also works of art in their own right, often adorned with calligraphy or delicate designs. A fringe belief has it that these images are designed to ward off moths and other fabric-eating creatures, like tiny, stylish bodyguards for your kimono. Historians still argue whether the specific folding techniques varied greatly by region, social class, or even personal preference. But what's certain is that the underlying principle remained the same, to preserve the kimono for generations to come. You are now ready to store the folded kimono. You place it gently in a tansu, a special chest of drawers specifically designed for storing kimonos. The tansu is made of wood, often cedar or paulownia, which are known for their insect-repellent properties. It's like a spa day for your clothes, only instead of cucumber slices, there's aromatic wood. Some tansu are quite ornate, with intricate carvings and metal fittings. They're not just furniture, they're heirlooms, passed down through families for generations. You close the drawer, the wood emitting a soft, comforting scent. The kimono is safe, protected, and ready for its next outing. And you? You can bask in the satisfaction of knowing you've played a part in preserving a centuries-old tradition. You've become a guardian of beauty, a protector of art. Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but it feels good, doesn't it? Now, it may seem like overkill, but the tradition of kimono folding is a tangible link to the past. In a world of fast fashion and disposable clothing, this painstaking care for a single garment is a powerful statement. It's a reminder that some things are worth preserving, that some things are worth cherishing. I remember one time I accidentally wore a kimono I thought was just a cheap reproduction, only to find out it was a genuine antique from my grandmother's collection. Let's just say she gave me an earful about it. You wonder, how did these traditions survive the test of time? Well, for centuries, kimono folding was passed down through families, from mother to daughter, grandmother to granddaughter. It was a skill learned at a young age, ingrained through repetition and observation. It was a way of bonding, a way of sharing knowledge, a way of connecting to the past. It was a family secret, a closely guarded tradition. Sort of like my secret recipe for the perfect avocado toast. Spoiler alert, it involves a pinch of sea salt and a drizzle of truffle oil. You should know it's also been kept alive by dedicated artisans and instructors who continue to teach the art of kimono folding to new generations. These are the keepers of the flame, the guardians of tradition. They hold workshops, give demonstrations, and write books, ensuring that this ancient art doesn't fade away. They are the unsung heroes of kimono preservation. They deserve all the accolades, seriously. You might now wonder about other techniques around kimono folding. Did you know that the specific folding techniques can vary depending on the type of kimono? For example, a furisode, a long-sleeved kimono worn by young, unmarried women, requires a different folding method than a tomesode, a short-sleeved kimono worn by married women. Each style has its own unique characteristics, its own unique requirements. And the folding techniques are tailored to preserve those characteristics. You can be sure that while the core principles of kimono folding have remained consistent, there have been some adaptations over time. For example, the use of modern materials, such as acid-free paper and specialized storage containers, has helped to improve the preservation of kimonos. And while some people still prefer to use traditional methods, others are embracing new technologies and techniques. It's a delicate balance between tradition and innovation. It's a way of honoring the past while also looking to the future. You might now wonder, is this ancient ritual relevant in today's world? Absolutely. Kimono folding isn't just a quaint historical practice, it's a living, breathing art form that continues to evolve and adapt. It's a reminder that we can learn from the past, that we can find value in tradition, that we can embrace beauty and craftsmanship in a world that often feels disposable and fleeting. It's a way of slowing down, of being present, of connecting with something larger than ourselves. And honestly, in today's chaotic world, who couldn't use a little bit of that? Historians still debate whether the rise of Western clothing in Japan has threatened the tradition of kimono folding. While it's true that kimonos are no longer worn as everyday attire, they are still an important part of Japanese culture, worn on special occasions such as weddings, graduations, and festivals. And as long as people continue to wear kimonos, the art of kimono folding will continue to thrive. You now have a good sense of how this ritual is performed. You might even want to try it out on your own. If you ever have the opportunity to handle a kimono, take a moment to appreciate the artistry, the craftsmanship, and the history that's woven into every thread. And if you're feeling brave, try your hand at folding it. Just be sure to do your research first. Maybe watch a YouTube tutorial or two. Or better yet, find a local instructor who can guide you through the process. You might now reflect that as you carefully fold and store the kimono, you're not just preserving a garment, you're preserving a piece of history. You're becoming part of a long line of custodians, guardians of tradition. You're helping to ensure that this beautiful art form will continue to inspire and delight for generations to come. So the next time you see a kimono, remember the intricate process, the delicate touch, and the enduring legacy of kimono folding. It's more than just fabric, it's a story, a tradition, a work of art. And it's waiting to be shared. Alright, friend, let's let our minds drift away from intricate folds and silken fabrics for a moment. Let the images of perfectly stored kimonos slowly fade like watercolor on a humid day. Breathe in, and breathe out. Can you feel your shoulders relaxing, just a little bit? You've explored the delicate dance of preserving history, the careful steps of kimono folding, the quiet respect for a tradition that spans centuries. All those details, the scent of cedar wood, the whisper of silk, the patient hands passing down knowledge. Allow that all to settle within you. You have learned that, like the careful folding of a kimono, life has moments of intricate detail, moments that call for patience and reverence. Even the smallest act can be infused with intention, like the precise placement of a sleeve or the gentle smoothing of a wrinkle. Remember to find those moments in your day, the ones where you can slow down, breathe deeply, and appreciate the quiet beauty around you. You are safe, you are calm, you are at peace. Let the gentle rhythm of your breath be your guide as you drift off to sleep. Sweet dreams.